Mark, we had to start the show with the great bass master himself, James Dockery.
Is that what he's got in his hand right there?
Largemouth bass, yes.
Oh boy!
Even though he says he's a crappie fisherman, that's not always the case. So
was he targeting bass?
He said he was targeting crappie, but what do you see in his hand? I mean, come on.
I'm going to leave that between you two.
That's fine. I have had so much fun fishing with that clown. It's been a lot of fun. Now, the last time we went out, his lovely bride, Katie, had a bass on and was raising it up, and he run over there and got it off the hook and put it in the water before I could get a picture of her. So, but we had a blast. We really did, and it was a ton of fun, and caught a lot of fish. So,
and you got to give each other a little bit of grief.
Really, you think?
I'm thinking that happens quite a bit now that you guys are fishing.
That's exactly right. We had a good time, and guess what, Mark?
What, bud?
I had the boat out for the first time today to make sure everything was working and in good order.
You did send me a picture, and I'm glad you did, because I'd call you a liar if you didn't.
There was a couple little things that I had to do, and the main thing I was excited about was trying out that new lithium battery, 24-volt battery with my trolling motor, and it worked perfectly. And I don't even think I touched the amount of stuff run off of it, and I run it for a couple hours, and for quite some time I run it on 10, and it done really well. And the big motor fire dried up. You don't know after sitting all winter, things happen. But green sunfish, that was the bait of choice for today.
Oh, so you had some. That's good.
I did. And guess who forgot to take their cast net? And there was shad plenty.
You?
Yeah, I did. I forgot to take it, but it's okay. There was tons and tons of shad out there, so I know I can get them. And Gidget and I, my chocolate lab, we had a great time out there. She was very well mannered in the boat today, and near the end, she was really wanting out of the boat bad.
Well, I'm thinking nature calls even for a dog.
Yeah, she had to make a deposit. What do you think? We welcome everybody into the show, Mark.
Let me ask you this real quick. Did you happen to take a look at your remote control for that Altera? See how much power you still had on that trolling motor? I
didn't, but I have the app on my phone, and it's still showing 100%.
Well, there you go. You're in good shape.
Pretty impressed with it. Running it on 10 with a side wind, 2.6 mile an hour. I don't know how that compares to some of the others, but I never did really check with 212 volts. I never did check this top speed on it, because most of the time I was back bouncing for catfish, and the main thing I was trying to do was slow the boat down, or I was dragging baits and planer boards on the water, or using spot lock if I was catching bluegill and stuff like that. So I don't know how the 2.6 mile an hour with a side wind compares, but I thought that was pretty good.
It seems pretty good. I mean, unless you're going up current for a long time or sitting at a dam on spot lock, they'll usually do pretty good. Mine with 24 volts, just the regular AGM, I'm getting, I want to say 5 hours, but we were trolling pretty good though, or 4.5 hours, but we were trolling for faster fish, like walleye and pike and right. Stuff. So we were doing like 2.2 miles an hour, which is pretty good though. But I wasn't ready to go in after 5 hours of fishing. So I'm going to need to make that change eventually. Just haven't got around to it. So
I got you. Well, like I say, that lithium battery, Not only does it weigh a third of what those other two batteries, probably a fourth, but at least a third. And it fit right in the compartment perfectly. So everything went very well. And like I say, Gidget and I had a great time. And I look forward to the next trip out.
Well, that's good. Did you catch any fish is the other question.
I really didn't try very hard. I did stop at a couple of places, but to tell you the truth, I was looking for eating size catfish. I know this is Panfish Nation, but I'm just telling you what I was looking for. But I didn't find hardly any. So I'll have to go to a different place next time. They just
they got to be somewhere there. So you'll figure it out. You'll find
it.
Well,
the place that I went, I wanted to go and look around because when summer gets here, it's going to be a really, really busy place. And some of the other places that I've been told to go look at are not as busy in the summer, not as many big boats. So that's where I'll head next trip and see how that works. Our good friend Dennis Lawrenson told me a couple places to check out, but he said, he told me it was going to be a couple weeks before he was ready to go. But what was it, 53-degree water today?
That's not too bad.
I didn't think that was too bad. No,
we're hovering right at like 40, right under 46 degrees here. Last time I was out, so
that's pretty good for you, I'd say.
We should be pretty close to where you're at. It might have warmed up in the last couple of days, but I've been kind of busy. If I sound kind of funny, folks, I had a little dental work done today. If I start to slur a little bit, that might be the medication that they gave me for it, so you'll have to forgive me.
Drool and all, huh?
Yeah, no kidding. The beard hides the drool pretty good. I know that's a little too much information, but it is what it is. Let me say hello to everybody like I was going to start.
You like that?
What's up?
Do you feel like doing that, or you want me to do it?
No, I can do it.
Okay.
Bugman in the house. What's going on, Buggy? How you doing? There's Crappie Day Darren. How you doing, sir? Greg Burgess in the house. There's my buddy Guerrero Burgess. Bob Gray in the house. Jason Lamb. What's up, Jason? There's channel member and supporter Joe Buck 66. How you doing, my friend? Kevin Capel is also joining us tonight. There's our buddy Mike Irvin, MI6, Mike Irvin. I see Aaron in the house. What's going up, Aaron? What's going on, Aaron? And there's Jeff Beal. How are you doing? I think that's it for now. If you're in chat or if you come in later, we'll definitely say hello to you like we always do.
Absolutely. I see where'd he go? I lost him. Joe Buck 66.
Joe Buck's the man.
He is.
I don't care what Chad says about him. Oh, speaking of Chad, we want to make sure that we wish Dia a quick recovery. She had a procedure done today. I'm not quite sure what was going on, but I know that Chad was with her in the hospital today, and she's home, and hopefully she's resting comfortably. So we want to keep her in our thoughts and prayers, make sure she has a speedy recovery.
Absolutely. She is heads and tails my favorite fields.
I agree. And then their daughter, and then Chad.
Well, maybe there's a couple more fields in between there.
Yeah, we just haven't met him yet. So
Guerrero says 47 degrees he checked today, and Greg Burgess says 81 degrees as we speak. Must be outside temperature air.
No, Greg, I believe Greg's in Louisiana, so that could very well be.
It could be anything down there. It could be water temperature. Yeah, I don't have nothing like that. But it was, I don't know, in the 60s today here. Pretty good. I got a lot of sun over there.
Yeah, since we're talking temperatures, I'm sitting at 44 degrees right here at home. And I got rain the next 9 out of the 10 days. I was trying to get out and do a little coho fishing if the weather changes, which it very well might. Jerry H might join me. We might go out there and drag some plugs and some flies and flashers on dipsies for some cohos. So
you'll have a call with Jerry.
I know. I always have fun fishing with Jerry.
He's a great guy.
You can always come up here too, Lyle.
Yeah, well, not this trip, but soon. I promise you.
All right, bud. You're always welcome. I got a room for you up here.
I'm really interested in salmon fishing this year if everything works out.
Now, I don't know if this is true or not, but I was talking to the guy who owns Lake Michigan Angling, right? It's a big bait shop right on the shore of Lake Michigan there in Winthrop Harbor. And he was explaining to me about you got to get to the right depth for a coho and start dragging baits. And as soon as they hear a commotion, they're really a curious fish, they'll come find you.
Really?
Yeah. So, well, I hear 4-man limits, that's 5 apiece, that's 20 fish in an hour or two. I've been hearing out
Holy
there.
crap, that is really putting them in the boat.
Yep, and a couple other guys, they'll have 2 men on the boat. They'll get 3-4 rods out there before they can get their full spread of 6. They'll have their limits already and they're going home. So,
wow.
Doesn't sound like very complicated fishing, but it does sound like good eating, that's for sure.
Absolutely. I love the salmon and all that stuff. And though I wouldn't consider them panfish, they are really, really good eating.
Aaron says, I really like the 8 to 10 inch sunfish. They're so colorful. I agree.
They are beautiful. Yeah, they really are. I got to tell you, Mark, I caught with James and Katie the other day, I caught probably some Master Angler Award red ear sunfish, and some giant bluegill. To get Master Angler for bluegill, red ear, or anything like that, they have to be 10 inches or 1 pound. And 9.5 inches is all I could squeeze out of 3 or 4 of them. But I'm sure they was heavy enough to make the 1 pound limit. And I never even thought about weighing them or anything. I was looking for a 10-inch fish, and I just didn't get it. And the day we caught all those, it was so windy you nearly had to hold on to the rail of the dock. But the fish was biting. You couldn't keep them off the hook.
Was the wind blowing right directly in your face, or?
It has come from every direction.
Every direction.
And I seen a snake yesterday.
Already?
Yeah. I took my little shotgun buddy out of the truck, but it's going back in. Just in case,
Just in case.
One of them might think it needs to attack me, and
I think you'll be all right. You made it to this ripe old age without getting a snake bite you in your ass. I don't think it's going to happen now necessarily.
I hope that's the case. I've seen snake bites. They look pretty painful.
Anything that bites you looks painful. I seen a lady get bit in the face by a golden retriever the other day on a video. It looked like that hurt too.
I'll bet so, yeah.
Also depends where they bite you. We're not going to get into details here.
Hey.
Greg's saying that, Lyle, I will be in the 80s all week.
Very nice.
I'm not ready for those kind of temperatures.
I got to tell you, I'm so afraid that when the wind stops and spring really gets here, I know they say it's here, but I'm afraid it's going to go from what we got now to scalding hot. Mark, we are very low on water here. All the ponds and lakes and stuff are needing water bad, and if we don't get some rain, it's going to hurt things.
Well, I got 9 out of 10 days supposedly that rain's coming. We could use it too. I'm not going to lie, but I like to get out at least a couple days next week. I got all sorts of other stuff going on. So when he laughed, What do you, Brian B, the guy who just had his 49th birthday? You'll be there soon, Brian B. My goodness.
Welcome, Bugman, LG Bass, Cold Creek Catfishing, Brian B. Who else? I hope I didn't miss anybody else. I think I got Kevin Koppel. I hope I got everybody. We're so glad you guys have joined us tonight.
Crappie Day Darren, just in case I might have missed him too.
Green sunfish.
Well, no, we were talking about the weather here. I'm not done yet.
Oh, okay. Okay.
What I wait for every year before I really start chasing crappie pretty hardcore is the daffodils to pop here in my front yard. that's usually a sign that the crappie are gonna right around there, either like the week of. I can see them coming through the ground as soon as the flowers start popping. I'll really go after them pretty hard. But hopefully, I haven't seen them yet. I spoke to Betty, and she says hers are all up and going. But when that happens, we'll start looking for morels. I got permission from a buddy of mine who's got a big old like 700-acre farm with a lot of woods on there. Maybe we'll go look for some morels there. But we're going to have to definitely go after some crappie. I need to replenish my supply and make some crappie cakes. I've been having a craving for those. Maybe we'll do that on our eating show or our cooking show.
Good. If you're going in the woods, dead elms and ash trees are a great place to look. It works really well.
I got a couple spots that have produced morels for me in the past, but they're kind of a haul away. They're kind of far. And with all the stuff going on, I got, like I said, I got a bunch of stuff going on still with my over at my mom's and now, you know, like with some medical stuff I got going on, the closer I can go to home, the better. You know, the worst thing I can do is just find a few and go back after them next year. But it's not, it's private property too. So it's not like anybody's going to be on there looking for them. So.
Awesome. You know, public property is like, it's sort of like when you deer hunt public property. It is so saturated with people that you got to get out there early and try to get them into them before everybody else does. Private property, they kind of control that to a certain extent, and if they're taking care of it to where they'll let you in there and not everybody else, probably got a good shot at getting some.
We'll give it a shot. I'm looking forward to having them. It's been I didn't go last year, but the years before last I've done pretty good. I mean, I've got a couple of pounds of them, which makes for a good couple of meals. So I do want to try a morel pizza. That sounds like it'd be pretty good.
Yeah. Did we say hello to Jeff Beal?
We did, but we can say hello again. JG Hill has joined us. What's going on, JG? How you doing, buddy?
How you doing, buddy? Popped in with him and Stan the other morning. Was it Sunday morning or Friday night? I don't remember, one of the two. Jumped in there with them guys for a minute.
Oh, we're at on whose show?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Where? Oh.
What's that?
On whose show was that?
Stan's.
On Stan's? I must have missed that. I was watching it for a while and then I had to leave.
But
Jeff Beal says Brian don't catch fish because he. Oh, I'm not going to finish reading that.
I popped in on Roger's show last night and I brought this up, and I'm going to bring it up again before we get into the sunfish stuff. I have Millennium seats in my boat.
Me too.
I dearly love those things. If it rains or gets wet or cold, you can pop that with your hand 2 or 3 times and that stuff all goes away. It's easy to dry. You don't get butt rot from sitting on them wet. You know what I mean? But as I was getting things ready to go the other day, I sat down in the driver's seat and I leaned back in it just a little bit, and the nylon strap that goes all the way around, clips on both sides, broke. And I went backwards. I'm glad that I had just moved the anchor. I landed on my back and my head, which, you know, I already have back and neck problems, so whatever. It didn't really bother that a whole lot. But it's a warning for people that have Millennium seats to check them. Yours may be fine, and they may last a long time. Mine is several years old, but where it broke is where it runs around the back frame, and it rubbed on that, and it rubbed a spot weak, and it broke. So you can go online and you can buy a new strap for $14, or they make a cable that's real short that you have to drill another hole for, and they're not as long as the straps. They sit right there where the hinge is, and you just stick them in there and adjust the cable to where you want it, and then drill the hole and put them on there, and I think they're like $19.95. Me, I had a strap, a nylon strap from a job I used to work at, brand new and had never been used, and it was a little thicker and a little wider, but it fit in the grooves where the old strap went. Now the only problem with that was it wasn't adjustable, so I had to put it where I wanted, and then heated up a nail, stick it through the nylon in 2 places, and lapped it over, and put the screw and nut back in, the bolt and nut back in, and I'm good to go. But if I have to do any of that again, I'm going to go with the cable.
I also saw something when I was looking at the Millenniums I put in my old boat. They sell like a metal bracket that's adjustable, that's got like different, like, like the old time beach chairs or lounge chairs, where you got little keys in them and you can pull the thing up and go back down and pull it up and go back down. And you can adjust the backrest however far you want to do. Maybe that's something to look into as well. I remember.
Where did you see that at?
I saw it on one of the Millennium sites that I bought some on. I will look for them after the show. We'll get your credit card out.
Shopping for Millennium stuff without me helping you? How can that be?
This was at the old boat. This was a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
I still got the Millennium seats from the old boat. I put the original Lund seats back in the other boat, and I kept the Millenniums. I just used one up on the deck. I didn't put them on the passenger and the pilot seat yet. We might do that, but the ones I have, I got the upgraded seats. They work pretty good. The only reason why I'm keeping them too, though, is the Millennium seats. I love them. I've sat in them many a nights, right? But as soon as the weather starts getting cold, you start getting cold on your back because it's made out of that mesh material. So that's the smallest complaint I got. Obviously, you can wear something to make up for that, but that was the one thing.
I find them very comfortable, and I've had boats before that had really comfortable seats in them. The only boat seat that I ever had from a production boat that didn't get my butt wet when I sat in it was the Alumacraft seats. They was extremely comfortable. Even that Monster Cat, you sit down in them if it rained and you had swamp ass. You just did. That Alumacraft, you take a paper towel or a towel and wipe the seat out, and your butt was dry. There was none of that. But I've sat in other people's that had sea arcs and other things. Same thing. Get your butt wet. And then you're wet all day. And if it's cold, it's really miserable. But the Millennium seats, they got the market for that. And I find them pretty damn comfortable.
I agree. They're very comfortable.
Yeah. J.G. Hill says, time goes fast as I get older. I bought something last year and it's been 5 years. Yeah. I understand that's the way it is, but I don't remember if this was 2017 or 2019 when Cindy got this. I don't remember. It was at MRM. MRM was down there doing a tournament in Memphis when those was bought. Wet underwear sucks, period. You are 100% correct. That's what I say. Swamp ass is, you can't get rid of it. Once you get it, you're stuck with it.
Some people got wet underwear for different reasons, though, Lyle. I'm not going to get into details.
Well, here, I mean,
so I managed to find those Millennium seats on a website that had made a mistake. So I got them for $49 a piece. I bought 3 of them.
Oh my God. That's a steal.
I went back to get a 4th one and they realized it. I said, hey, you had these for $49. I want to buy one more. Sorry, but $120. There you go. Can't blame a guy for trying.
I did see, I got a Bass Pro Shop ad come through the computer or something. They have red ones now. They come in different colors other than just the aluminum stuff. So
I want to say I've seen even orange ones too. So I don't know. I'm interested in getting one of those bicycle type or a saddle seat or whatever for the front of my boat, so I can actually stand up and have a leaning post up there. Because right now I sit in one of those Millennium seats.
Bass fishing?
What?
Are you bass fishing up there?
No, when I'm walleye fishing and crappie fishing. Duh.
Excuse me. I have to give it a shot.
I didn't even think about bass fishing when I said that. You must have bass on the brain, buddy.
Well, I seen Doctor catch that one. I can't get over it.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, I saw there's Bugman. Bugman says, I'm going gilly fishing again tomorrow evening. But Bugman, I was at the doctor. I did see you go live when I came home. I kind of scrolled through there for you. Glad to see you got up, bud.
Absolutely. You know, the bluegill, crappie, and green sunfish are really hot right now. Not every day and not every place. Sometimes they're deep, sometimes they're just under the surface of the water. If you're in fairly clear water, we found them the other day. You drop your jig in, and when it went out of sight, go down about a foot, and it was right there. The next day, you had to go all the way to bottom and reel up just a little bit, and that's what they said. So they're not in our area anywhere. They're not staging up yet, but it won't be long. There was a guy fishing on a dock I was at the other day, and he was fishing the brush piles. You know, a lot of these docks that the conservation department put in for people to walk out and fish off of, they put brush piles around them, and most of them have them off of the corner, but this particular one had it pretty much all the way around it. And he was casting out there and reeling back as the jig went down to keep it out of the top of that brush pile. And he was slaying them. Just
there's Chadwick. What's going on, Chad? Tell Dee we're thinking about her and to get well soon.
Absolutely. There's Jerry Parker.
Oh, I got something to say about Jerry. I was going to hold on a second. Bugnet says, don't know what I was thinking. I could have kept a few for bait. Yeah. And there's Jerry Parker. You know what I saw Jerry Parker do? Was it last Sunday? I forget. He was somewhere out. It was on somebody's live stream. He was out there. Or it was, no, I think it might have been even Danny Stone's. He was out there crappie fishing. And you know what happened? Nothing. He wasn't catch. He didn't catch any. Yeah. Jerry Parker. I think he got skunked unless he claims to catch something off camera, but we're not going to let him say that.
James Dockery said he didn't catch that bass too, but I have proof, and you've seen it, and everybody else seen
it. He says, "Is that how you catch all those bass, Lyle?" I saw that.
I don't know what you're talking about. My picture's not on the beginning of this show holding a bass.
River temps getting to the mid 50s. Start catching some green sunfish for flathead. 100%.
Oh, Jerry caught a ditch pickle on camper, he said. That's
oh.
Yeah.
I think we need some Panfish Nation and Catfish Weekly ditch pickle stickers, Lyle.
I think that's probably a good idea.
We can have people send them to their friends that they don't like.
I would give one to James Dockery right off the bat.
You know, I've been known to put stickers on other people's boats. That could happen.
I know nothing about any of that. I did not do any of that. I promise. One thing I noticed the other day when we was catching all them greenies, if the wind was blowing, you caught more fish than when it wasn't. And that was strange to me. The sun was in and out behind clouds, and the wind was horrible, but the fish were biting. Go figure.
I always do better with a little bit of ripple on top of the water, to be honest.
Yeah, but this was like white caps.
Well, I don't know about all that. Were you fishing under a float, or were you just vertical jigging?
Both.
Both? Okay.
Both. But my success for the green sunfish come under a float, right off the bottom. And I'll explain that. I put a bobber stop on, a couple of beads, small one and a large one, and then my slip float, and then a bead underneath of it, so when it slid down, it doesn't get next to the jig, and they'll get stuck sometimes, and that keeps that from happening. And I had a 7-foot rod, so not quite the length of the rod is where I set the bobber stop. Just drop her in. Tipped them with night crawlers.
Yep, that doesn't hurt. That's for sure.
It didn't that day.
And how deep? Do you know how deep the water was where you were fishing?
About 7 foot,
7 foot.
roughly. Now it varies in there. Of course, all of them do. But the thing about green sunfish is they're plentiful. They're hellacious fighters. They really fight hard. They're not hard to catch, and they're in every body of water the bluegill are in, seems like. The other thing is, if you want a good fish to eat, they're not bad eating. They have very firm meat on them, and they're easy to clean, just, basically like any other panfish. But if you choose to use them for bait, they're stay on a hook really good. Their meat's a little firm. They got good bone structure, so you're not throwing them off all the time and stuff like that. The other thing about them babies are flatheads love them. Maybe not as much as bullheads, but I'd say it's really close.
In my experience, the more the bait's moving, the more likely you are to call in a flathead. 100%. I don't care what anybody says. This is what works for me. Where if you got a bait, let's say laying on the bottom, not alive as much as it could be, and just kind of laying there, the only way a flathead picks it up is if it trips over it, if it's coming by and it sees it. It's not going to go looking for it. There's exceptions to all of those rules, but if you can get a bait out there that's swimming constantly, kicking, struggling, you're going to do better, which is another reason why bullheads work. When I use bullheads, I try to keep them off the bottom, and they keep swimming down to get there. And I really have a feeling that the flatheads pick up on it. So green sunfish, perfect for that because they're ferocious.
They are, and they're great fighters. They're fun to catch, and they're plentiful. Sometimes of the year they're not as easy to find as other times, but like I say, they are great flathead bait. If you're a flathead fisherman and you love to catch fish for bait, I would highly recommend them.
Now that being said, they're invasive species in most bodies of water. They're not meant to be there. And doing a little bit of research for the show, I know that they stock a lot of spots where they need to control everything from weeds to bugs to smaller fish. They're great. The only other and they love slow, if not moving at all, water. So the dankier the water is in a pond or something, chances are there's green sunfish there. Now that being said, they're crazy breeders. We've had a pond here, Lyle. I'm telling you, those green sunfish have those little orange tips on their fins, right?
Right.
When they're spawning in, like, I want to say middle of June. It's been a while since I've seen it because I killed them all off at the one spot I used to catch them. But it was nothing but a sea of those little orange fin tips sticking out of the water. And it was like right up in like 3-4 inches of water at the most. And you could have, if you wouldn't have squashed them, you could have walked on them. They were so thick. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
So they breed pretty good. Another thing I also learned is that they'll crossbreed with bluegills, making hybrids and stuff for sure.
Yep, they will. I don't think they're too particular. 205, welcome. Glad to see you in here tonight. John Boy's Catfishing. Matt, want to be outdoors? Pumpkin seeds is great for flatheads. 100% they are. 100% they are. Flatheads hunt at night or early mornings, late evenings for their stuff. The light kind of keeps them stuck in logs and brush piles and stuff like that. It's not that you can't catch them during the daytime, because you can. But the big ones, I believe, come out more in the evenings or mornings or at night, and they run up and down the bank. And the first green sunfish, bluegill, bullhead, whatever it is they find, they just rang the dinner bell. So
You can hear them breaking water at night at the surface. You know there's one near you. That's one thing that I hear every now and then when I'm out flathead fishing. I'll know there's one in the area because I can hear that swirl from that big broomtail. So that's chasing bait near the top of the water. And that's usually a good sign. Well, that's, to me, that is an absolute sign that there's one in the area. And if you got like that bait that's kicking and moving and thumping in the water, chances of calling them in. I've had one, a small one, that I saw on the edge feeding on like minnows, maybe even frogs or something. I'm not quite sure, but I called it. I'm like, oh, there's a flathead. Put a fresh bait on there, maybe 20 yards away from it. It took a half an hour, but I caught that small flathead within a half an hour. So
that's pretty good. Jody said that swirl. Ooh, I'm not reading the next one, but welcome to chat, Jody. We're glad to see you made it.
Jody.
I guess I'm going to do it anyhow. I didn't try to. Hit it by mistake. Chat moved on me. But yeah, you can catch green sunfish very easily just by using a hook, a slip float, and night crawlers or red worms. They're not hard to catch at all. And if you want to take a youngster out and get you some bait, they'll have a blast because it's pretty much fast action. They're like bluegill. And a lot of times you'll catch them while you're fishing for bluegill, or if you're going after greenies, you'll get bluegill while you're there, and maybe a warmouth or no telling what. Depends on what body of water you're fishing. But right now I've been fishing lakes, a lot of small lakes, and I was shocked to get into as many greenies as we did.
If you're in a small body of water, they'll easily overrun it for sure. And as far as like using bait, you can almost use anything for them, Lyle. They're just voracious eaters. They go crazy. They're in high competition with one another, especially when the populations get high. I would, the one spot that I fish for them religiously, I'd use like 2 of those Berkley Gulp minnows underneath the float, and 30 minutes, I got 2 dozen of them in a bucket ready to go fishing at night. So that's how crazy.
I'm guessing that crickets would be another great option.
Oh yeah.
I don't have very good success rate with crickets. I can't keep the damn things alive because I'll buy them one day and then it's a couple of days before I go and half of them are already dead. And I've got a case of red ass about that because the best place to get them right for me presently was at a pet store, and I had my daughter stop and pick them up for me, and then I wasn't going the next day, and by the next day I lost a third of them, so I think if you didn't buy quite as many at a time, probably help that though. And whatever you do, if you're going to use crickets, they make little containers. Some of them are tubes and some of them are square, depending on how much money you want to spend. But get something like that to put them in, because if you don't, when you open up a box, they're coming out. And that way you can just shake them down and not get so many of them.
Don't mail order them either, and have your kid take them to his high school and let them loose in the hallways. That was a bad idea. It cost them about $1,500 to clean them up.
Who would do that?
Some guys for a senior prank at my school. So do not do that.
If they get loose in your boat, they will chirp for days before they all leave. I promise you that.
Jody's bragging. She says, we have caught several flatheads on floats, 4 foot deep and 60 foot of water.
Wow. Pretty good information.
Matt says a nice 1/80th ounce jig is great for them greenies. I agree. Greenies have larger mouths, Lyle.
Yes, they do.
Like some people. Did I almost say some people we know? I almost did. And they'll take a larger hook too, so they'll work either way. But the good thing about them having a large, I'm sorry,
a crappie hook works great for them.
Yeah, it works great. That works good. You just make sure you set them hooks, so they're not getting gut hooked for whatever. But they're rather large, so you can do pretty good. And plastics, I always use plastics like the Berkley or the what are they called? The itty bitty swimmers. I've used those before. So
Jody, you're a hoot.
Jody, there you go, Jody, right there. She's like she's a hater.
Oh man. What would Chad know about that?
JG Hill says, I put a little slice of apple in a cricket tube. Yeah, that'll feed them for sure.
I never thought of that. I don't eat apples anyhow, so.
Kind of looking at this. Now, some of the facts that they get stocked for pest controls. They're ferocious. They'll eat everything from mayflies to mosquito larvae. So they are used in a lot of construction projects. Usually, what I've learned is if I'm catching green sunfish, there's bullhead in there too. So keep that in mind when you're fishing and you're getting on them for the most part. Yeah. They're definitely the aerate water and try to keep pests and stuff down. So one of the downsides is they're ferocious. They'll eat all the tadpoles. If you're trying to get turtles, they'll eat them all. Not turtles, I'm sorry, frogs. They're going to eat all the tadpoles. They're going to eat a lot of minnows. If you don't have bass big enough in your pond, Lyle, they're going to you got bass. Never mind. They could starve them out because there won't be any minnows left to eat. So you need to do that. But they stock them in those smaller ponds and drainage places because they are resilient to weather. They're pretty much close to freezing, and they'll live the next year too.
Yep. Schmieder says he actually caught greenies on plastic worms before. They have big mouths. That is 100% correct. Another good way to catch them is if you like to fish with inline spinner baits or beetle spins, they will eat them alive. So, Chad, what's wrong with you? You're supposed to be taking care of your wife.
What did Chadwick say?
Something about bait. I don't know. He gets piss poor information from James Dockery, so they will stay alive on a hook, 205. They will stay alive on a hook for long. They're as hardy as bluegill and bullheads. Now, there's some panfish that are not quite that hardy, but greenies, they'll stay alive a long time. Right now, I'm using them as cut bait, but then, no drum, Matt, no drum. But, they're a very hardy fish, and if you want to keep them, say, in your live well or bait tank, if you change the water every day or two, they'll stay alive a long time. I mean, they just will. And right now I have, I don't know, some in my live well in the boat with the aerator going on it. And what I plan to do is tomorrow, the next day, whatever, just go out and drain the water out of it and refill the live well, and they're good to go. And anything, if you're not using them up fast enough, they'll eat anything. Dog food, it doesn't make any difference. Just anything that's small enough that they can get it in their mouth, they'll eat. So
other fish, if you got smaller ones in there, they'll eat them. If you don't have a lid on your bait tank, they'll jump out.
They will come right out. They will. You've seen nothing.
And also 205, let me add to that. They'll stay on a hook wherever you hook them. The good thing about them is if you're fishing in current, a lot of guys like to hook them through the lips. They got lips closer to bass than they do bluegill, so it's a little sturdier one. They hold up really well when you hook them through the nose. So I hook them through the back, I hook them through the tail. Just make sure they got a big dorsal fin. Make sure that you got that hook in on an angle, or else you're gonna bury that hook back in and miss a bite for sure. Talk about green sunfish, Bugman.
We are.
Jody says, spit it out, Mark. Come on. I got gauze in my mouth, Jody. Relax. I'm not spitting it out on camera. What the heck is wrong with her?
Oh my God, you two are something else. Is she your sister? You guys could be brother and sister.
Not at all.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah,
Chad says, I saw it with my own eyes.
you've seen nothing. Nothing, I'm telling you.
I kind of saw it too. I kind of saw it too, Lyle.
Everybody fished with them and everybody caught fish. So whatever. They worked really good. They sure would. So Jody,
Cindy says, Chad, I'm making cinnamon rolls tomorrow. I'll send them to D if they I'd send them to D if they would travel well. And that's a great thought right there.
That's very sweet.
Jody's asking me if I got my tongue pierced. Maybe.
Jody, you can't do that.
Let's see what JG. We're getting back on track here.
Yeah.
JGL Studio says changing water in a bait tank should be a simple process unless you're using city water. Totally different topic.
You know, if city water has fluoride and chlorine and stuff in it, but if you put it in a container, whatever container, and leave it set for a day, all that dissipates and goes away.
It won't kill bullheads and it won't kill green sunfish. You can take that to the bank.
Yeah.
I use city water here. I put a little bit of that better bait in there. Haven't had a problem. I used to jump through all of those hoops. Never had a problem. As long as I put that better bait in there, it dissipates the stuff. But I've thrown green sunfish and bullheads in the chlorinated water and they did just fine.
They are hardy.
Yeah, they're hardy as they get. So
that's pretty good because that chlorination and chlorine is hard on them. I think it burns their gills. I believe is what someone told me years ago. Maybe a biologist, maybe not. I don't remember. But yeah, it burns their gills, but that stuff dissipates if it sets a while. And they make stuff that you can pick up at Walmart or any sporting goods store that you just put a little bit of that in. Mix it up as the water's going in, and in just a few minutes, I've actually filled tanks up with adding that stuff and put them right in, and never lost one. So
people use that G juice too, folks. That stuff's just a little more pricey. The better bait, you can get a 2-pound container. You look at the price and say 2 pounds, and it's like $35-$40, but it'll last you 2 years depending how big your bait tank is.
Exactly.
I go through like a pound a year of the better bait. So,
yeah, and they both work really good. And there's some other stuff. I mean, like I say, you can buy some of that stuff at Walmart that they use for aquarium fish, and it does the same thing. They make several different size containers of it. It's liquid, and it's okay. So, like I say, but chlorinated water is. If it kills fish like that, how good is it really for everybody that drinks it? You know what I mean? Think about that.
Yeah. Feed your dog a fifth of whiskey, and it's not going to do really good. Feed you a fifth of whiskey, it might do a little better than the dog. That's all I'm going to say.
That's a lot, but yeah. I told you about going out in the boat today, and I took Gidget with me. She was so good in that boat until right to the end. But I mean, but dogs usually run back and forth. They got to see everything that's going on. I tell her to sit down, she'd sit down and do what she's supposed to do. And I was real happy about her being out there and not getting out of hand, because the biggest she gets out of hand, I'm just going to throw her ass in the water, let her go. But it's hard to keep her out of the water. That was my goal for today, was to make her stay out of the water. And I not think that every time she goes there, she gets to go for a swim.
That's what I worry about with my dogs. Them knuckleheads don't know the water well enough to do it. We've had them out on the boat twice. So yeah. I'm going through my notes here, trying to see if we missed anything. I think we got a lot of it. Slow moving, still waters, plenty of vegetation for cover. That's true very much.
Yep.
They are invasive, so be careful moving them. You don't want to move them from body to water to body to water. If you got them on your river, and you can catch them, use them on that river. It's against the law in almost all the states. I haven't heard of one that isn't, that says it's okay to move fish of any kind, whether it's, you know, bait or aquatic mussels or whatever, from definitely not that, or even aquatic plants from body water to body water. So you definitely don't want to do that.
I'm trying to think. I think with Grand Forks, when we went up there and fished a tournament up there, that you can't launch your boat if the plug's in it when you get there. Mm-hmm. That plug has to be out when you pull into the ramp to launch your boat, because they're afraid of what would be up in there. And my assumption is that if there's no water in it, if it's all drained out of your boat, whatever it is they don't want in there is probably dead already. But they don't want that stuff in there, and I understand that 100%. But even though my boat gets a little water when you back it in over the back of it, sometimes, you know, I don't ever get hardly any water out of it when I pull the plug. But I pull the plug every time I come out, and that try to get rid of all of that. Greg said, drinking chlorinated water for 70 years can't kill you. Bad grass.
Patrick says, Greg, that's called city water.
That is. It's supposed to help, you know, and be good for you, but if it kills fish that fast, it sure makes you wonder. I'm not sure. There was a reason they put all that stuff in that water years ago when they started making public water systems, and I don't remember if it was to protect kids' teeth or just what it was. There was a reason. And
well, there's a lot of reasons. They claim that fluoride is good for teeth, and we don't want to get into that. I have definitely an opinion on the whole thing, but we can talk after the show. They claim fluoride's good for your teeth, but too much of a good thing's bad, and your water department should be able to provide you with the parts per million counts. It should be like 0.02 parts per million. And I've been reading a lot of reports that some suburbs have gotten as high as 0.7, which isn't good for you. Considering the powdered bags they used to add, it has skull and crossbones all over it. But hey, who am I to...
bags, huh? How big are they? Dime size or big. I have learned something recently. And people say, oh, you're too old to learn. You're never too old to learn. If you take tap water and it corrodes, you know how it gets white calcium buildup on your water, and everything else, and it ruins coffee makers and ice makers and whatever else appliance you use that has water. If you will take the water and put it in a gallon jug and put it in the refrigerator overnight, you don't have any problems in your coffee pot or your ice maker or whatever. Now, you can't do that if you have an automatic water feed going into a refrigerated ice maker. But if you have one that sits on a counter, and I know Chad and D has one, if you have hard water, that'll fix that. I find that very cool. And I never
heard that. That's interesting. We have one of those pure filters that we put in both in our refrigerator and one of those big, like 30-cup water filter containers. And that does a pretty good job of doing it. But other than that, we got pretty hard water. If I don't keep the water softener stocked up with salt, we have problems. Jody's she's all bent out of shape because green sunfish eat tadpoles, and she's a tadpole.
Ah, I see. Matt says kills bacteria and other people. I mean, things. Oh, man. But, you know, I did not know that it wouldn't kill bullheads and green sunfish. I did not know that. That's a new one for me. So they're just tough. Green sunfish, like I say, they're good eating, they're great bait, and they're fun to catch. It don't get no better than that.
JG Hill says hard versus soft water. I personally, I don't think it matters. I go through bait fast enough to where it's not a problem.
I think that the ideal thing, if you live in an area that has bad water, the best thing to do, and they're expensive, is to buy a water thing that you put in line as it comes in the house. And I know that's a lot of work, but if you're worried about it, that's how you take care of that.
Yeah, when I installed my water softener, I bypassed the outside freeze plugs on the outside of the house, just so I wasn't using up filter material and such, washing cars and stuff, because there's no need. And that's where I get all my bait tank water from. I've never had a problem. Now I have a black stock tank that I use for my bait tank. That's got some hard water stains on it, but I've never noticed anything in the fish.
Jody says, good old sulfur well water. Man, you can't mistake that for anything, because that stuff stinks. Oh,
now we know why Jody got sick.
You can't even get past your nose. That stuff it's terrible, man. I never will forget that.
We had that rotten egg smell at our cottage. It was pretty nasty. We had to bring water in with us whenever.
Yep. And this weird part is most of the time it comes from people that have drilled wells, and you may have it, and the guy right next door to you might not. It's just how the water table flows, I guess. But it is what it is. Great show, a lot of fun.
Yeah, one last thing. Matt says well water is best. I would say it works good, but I think your best bet is collect rainwater if you can. Every bait shop in the area uses rainwater for all their bait tanks and stuff, and they're using it to make a living. So I would trust what they're using for sure.
The other thing is, if you're out getting bait, use that water. The thing about well water is it's perfectly fine to use, but you need aeration in it because there's very little oxygen in well water.
Jody says, my dad drilled water wells. I was a water witch.
I'm not going to touch that at all.
There's Heather Stokes. Heather says, definitely can't wait to eat those cinnamon rolls, Mama. And there's Sunfish for fish. What's going on, buddy? Lyle, you got anything else for us?
I don't. I want you to get healed up from your issue here and get taken care of, and we'll come
up. I had dental work. Don't make it sound like a proctology exam.
I don't have a license, so I'll be glad to help you out if you need a tooth pulled at any time. All you got is holler. I got a BFH if we need to give you an anesthetic, and I reach in there with a pair of vice grips and jerk that baby right out.
The way he was pulling on that thing, he could have used a gear puller, Lyle. I'm not even kidding. My goodness, 2 hours to get it all done and out. Oh my God.
I had one they had to split one time, take it out half the time. It was horrible. Yep. My dad, when I was a kid, I had a tooth that wouldn't come out. Another one was coming in underneath it. It had to come out. And my mom said, take him to the dentist. Take him to the dentist. Dad said, no, I'll pull it. He can handle it. It's loose anyhow. And he reached out with a pair of pliers, and the pliers slipped off, and it drove that thing back in my jaw, and I like to crap myself. And he says, open up. Let me get another shot at it. No, that ain't never happening. And it didn't either. We went to the dentist after that.
All right. On that note, folks, before we get carried away here, say goodnight, Lyle.
Glad to see you, Ernie. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Be sure to tune in to Chad and the boys tomorrow night, and Catfish Weekly on Monday night. See everybody next week.
Have a great weekend, folks. See you soon. Bye-bye.